The Jomon period marks the earliest known era in Japanese history, starting around 14,500 BCE and lasting until roughly 300 BCE, when the Yayai period began. The name, Jomon, comes from the unique style of pottery characterized by cord-like patterns, which was prevalent during this time. People arrived in what we now call Japan toward the end of the last ice age, likely following animal migrations over land bridges. As the climate warmed and these land bridges vanished, they found themselves on an island. With the disappearance of the land bridges, the animals they relied on started to diminish. To sustain themselves, the Jomon people turned to hunting and gathering. Their diet consisted of a variety of foods, including bears, boars, fish, shellfish, yams, wild grapes, walnuts, chestnuts, and acorns. Evidence of their diet is found in middens, which are essentially ancient garbage piles, and shell mounds near their settlements. Around 5000 BCE, the Jomon transitioned to a more settled lifestyle, establishing villages. These villages varied in size and location, with coastal villages relying heavily on fishing, while those further inland focused more on hunting. Ceremonial stone platforms and storage pits have been discovered in many villages. Initially, their shelters were simple, but they evolved into pit houses built around a central fireplace, accommodating around 5 people each. The Jomon people moved to different areas based on climate changes, with colder periods prompting settlements near the sea and warmer periods leading to inland settlements. Population fluctuated significantly during this period, growing from 20,000 to 100,000 by 5000 BCE, then to 200,000 by 3000 BCE, before dropping back to 100,000 by the end of the Jomon period. The Jomon people did not practice agriculture until the end of their era, around 900 BCE, when rice farming was introduced from Korea, along with advanced metalworking techniques, particularly in southwestern Japan. And technology during the Jomon period mainly revolved around simple tools crafted from stone and wood, such as knives, axes, bows, and arrows. These tools were essential for hunting and daily tasks, resembling the technology used during the Neolithic period in Europe and Asia. In addition to stone tools, the Jomon people also employed various traps and snares to aid in hunting. Clothing was fashioned from the bark of the mulberry tree, stitched together using bone needles. They were also skilled at weaving wicker baskets. Living near the ocean at times, they developed fishing tools like harpoons and hooks, along with the techniques to use them effectively. Unlike other regions where agriculture was practiced earlier, the Jomon people didn't adopt farming until later in the period. However, evidence suggests they engaged in small-scale horticulture or gardening. Jomon pottery was a significant aspect of their material culture. Crafted by hand without a potter's wheel, it was made by building up coils of soft clay mixed with other materials like fibers or crushed shells. The pottery was then smoothed out both inside and outside using tools before being fired in outdoor bonfires. These pottery remains are among the oldest in the world, with thousands of pieces discovered. In the early stages of the Jomon period, the pottery had rounded bottoms, suitable for outdoor cooking atop piles of stones or sand. As the period progressed, pottery with flat bottoms became more common, indicating its increasing use for indoor purposes. During the Middle Jomon period, pottery became more elaborately decorated, featuring designs like flames or snakes. By the late Jomon period, pottery walls became thinner, and vessels had a wider range of uses, showcasing the evolution and refinement of Jomon ceramic artistry. And rituals and beliefs were integral parts of Jomon society. Archaeological findings reveal intriguing burial practices, such as burying infants in large jars and adults in pits or shell mounds near villages. Ceremonial offerings and ornaments were placed in graves during the Middle to late Jomon periods. One notable aspect of Jomon culture was the creation of clay figurines called dogu. These figurines initially started as flat images, ranging from 3 to 30 centimeters in size during the earlier Jomon phases. However, they became more widespread and three-dimensional by the Middle and late Jomon phases. Many depicted pregnant women, symbolizing fertility, while others represented regular people. Some figurines were broken as a belief that any misfortune or illness would transfer to the figurine instead of the living person it represented. Another intriguing practice was ritualistic teeth pulling for males entering puberty, though the reasons behind it remain unclear. In northern Japan, stone circles dating to the Jomon period have been discovered around villages, their purpose speculated to be related to hunting or fishing. As the Jomon period progressed, Japan remained relatively isolated from the rest of Asia. This isolation allowed for the development of a unique culture, society, and technology, albeit with limited exposure to external influences. However, evidence of contact with the mainland, such as similar pottery found in Korea and Kyushu, began to emerge in later phases of the period. Eventually, the Jomon people learned rice cultivation and metalworking from Korea, and interactions with outsiders, particularly in southern regions, led to cultural exchanges and intermixing. This laid the foundation for the modern Japanese people. Nonetheless, a small group in the northern island of Hokkaido maintained a higher percentage of original Jomon DNA, preserving a distinct genetic heritage. And transitioning from the Jomon period to the Yayoi period marks a significant shift in Japanese history. The Yayoi period, beginning around 300 BCE, saw the introduction of wet rice agriculture and metalworking techniques to Japan. These innovations were brought by migrants from the Asian mainland, likely from the Korean peninsula and China's southern regions. This influx of new technology and cultural practices from the continent transformed Japanese society. Wet rice cultivation, in particular, revolutionized food production and allowed for the development of complex societies and centralized political structures. Iron tools and weapons brought significant advancements in agriculture, warfare, and craftsmanship. The Yayoi period also witnessed the consolidation of settlements into larger, more organized communities, with evidence of social stratification emerging through the presence of burial mounds containing grave goods indicating status differences. Furthermore, interactions with mainland Asia increased, leading to the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural practices. This period laid the groundwork for Japan's subsequent historical trajectory, setting the stage for the emergence of the Yamato state and the eventual formation of a unified Japanese state. While the Jomon people left a lasting legacy in Japan's cultural and genetic landscape, the Yayoi period marked the beginning of a new chapter in Japanese history, characterized by increased connectivity with the wider world and the adoption of technologies and practices that would shape Japanese society for centuries to come.